Hello again, another midweek vlog. The reason for that is I said to you I'd report back on how my choices of equipment and clothing, etc. went on my wild camping trip. Now, before I go any further, it's very important to say that I bought all of this stuff. Nothing's been supplied to me by any company, so I'll give you kind of honest reviews or feedback on it. Also, I'd like to thank Shane from Ascend Mountaineering, who guided me up and down the mountains. Brilliant fella. If you're looking at going wild camping, you want some advice, or you want to be shown how to do it, excuse me, Shane's your man. Ascend Mountaineering is the company. Go and give him some love on Instagram and follow him. Look on his website. I'll put a link to his company down below. So this is looking at it at wild camping from somebody who really is just a photographer. I'm a photographer, is what I do. Landscapes is my thing, and the idea behind it was to go up a mountain, camp by a sunrise location, and early in the summer be able to get up and photograph the sunrise. We didn't end up doing that because the weather was just like 5 minutes visibility. It was awful. But I can give you the feedback on my stuff. So I know nothing about camping apart from what I've done this weekend. So let's talk about clothing. First of all, these things, brilliant. A pair of Musto Gore-Tex trousers. Now Musto are a sailing company, clothing company, I think. So I thought, well, that's going to keep me dry, and they did. Now there's a little flap here. There's a bit of air conditioning, and lets the air in. I left those open when I started the walk, and they got a little bit wet inside. But as soon as I closed that up, these trousers were brilliant. I mean, the outer layer was absolutely sodden. The Gore-Tex layer in the middle was fantastic, and kept me. I would say I may have been damp a little bit, but they dried off really quickly. So they were amazing. 9 out of 10. I'd give those easily, possibly even more. This thing. This is Regatta, and I found this just on the day, literally the day before I went. I thought I will just get an extra layer. Synthetic fibre, so it just keeps the core dry. The arms are a different material, but then they're not sort of there for insulation, I don't think. But it has a hood, and that was absolutely brilliant, because when I went to sleep, which I'll talk more about in a minute, that was on my head, and this is what I laid on, and it was lovely and soft. 10 out of 10 for that. I wouldn't say it's the warmest ever, but it was great for the summer. Perfect for that trip, absolutely perfect. I'll leave those for a second. North Face waterproof. North Face do good stuff. This was brilliant. At one point I got so wet that I ended up, we turned a corner. While I was still hot and still warm, while I was climbing, even though I was soaked through, I decided to carry on wearing the t-shirt because it's about keeping things dry when it's raining. Because it's absolutely ringing. But I turned a corner at one point to go to somewhere called the Hole in the Wall. So we've got the Hole in the Wall and the red tile on there, which approaches Stride and Edge and Squirrel Edge, and the wind was whistling along that. I thought, actually, I'm going to get cold now, so I ripped the Rab t-shirt, or pulled the Rab t-shirt off, and just wore this North Face waterproof, zipped up on my bare skin. It's very comfortable, kept me very dry. I was no wetter after I had this on than when I had it on, or before I had it on, and I was a bit damp anyway. But that was really, really good, and that's been good throughout the trip. Dries off really quickly. Probably say that's I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. North Face fleece, thin, lovely, comfortable, but very, very warm. It's like having a sleeping bag on you. So really, really nice. So that's another 10. That was excellent. Let's have a look at the hat. So I may have looked a bit of an idiot, but actually the idea of this, when I bought it, was to keep the sun off my neck and off my face, and also the fact that if it's windy, this ties on. And it did those jobs. It actually was supposed to be a little bit waterproof, and I was quite surprised, but it did keep the rain off my head, amazingly. So this is an amazing piece of kit. Dried out really quickly. As soon as the sun came out the next day, I just hung it up, and it seemed to be fine by the end. So that's a 10 out of 10 bit of kit. Okay, that's all of the clothing. Oh, I had some really good walking socks, hiking socks. I highly recommend. I had a dry pair in a dry bag. Well, the dry bag's gone somewhere. The dry bag's a dry bag, but the dry bag was brilliant. I kept in there a spare t-shirt, which stayed dry. a pair of socks which stayed dry, and my regatta fleece thing, this thing, down thing, they stayed dry as well. So the dry bags are heartily recommended, and that was really good. The socks were great. I got to the end and I was so tired. Oh, I'll be honest, I'm done. That I took both of my socks were damp, so I took my left sock off, and as I was taking it off, my quadriceps cramped up, so I managed to get it half off, and then I had to wait for the cramp to die down, get the other half off, wait for the cramp to die down. I ended up at some point then with a wet right foot in a sock and a damp left foot without a sock on it. So I put a dry sock on my left foot in the end, again cramping up twice, but I left the other one, just thought I'm just going to let it dry naturally. And then on the way down, I've been wearing some Scarpa boots, walking boots, so brilliant, really, really good. They were damp inside, but probably because of my socks had got wet and it dripped down. But on the way down, when it was warmer, my right foot by the end of the walk was getting a little bit, felt really hot, like a blister was coming on. That's probably because that sock was probably damp when I started off. So the socks were good, but it was hard to get them on and off. So hadn't really tested those. The Scarpa boots were great though. Okay, so let's look at the camping stuff. Again, somebody who's not an expert at this. These are my little bits of stuff that I took with me. So a toothbrush, didn't need that. Sorry, Mum, didn't use it. Some painkillers, plasters, suntan lotion I did use, hay fever just in case. Bought this spoon, which I thought was a really good idea. But in the actual fact, all the food I ate had already been cut up. I just needed a spoon. I didn't really need anything with a sharp edge on it. Maybe it might be useful at some point for doing things, I don't know. And it's not that heavy, so I probably would take it again, to be honest. The food was actually really good. I'll put pictures up of both of them that I got. So the first one, this company, I needed to do to heat the jet boil up, so the water was boiling, give it 4 minutes one side, turn it over, 4 minutes the other side to warm it up. And the chicken tikka and rice was absolutely lovely. I was really surprised at that. Big lumps of chicken in it, so I woofed that down, and it also tells me how many calories I consumed, and that is quite useful. So that's highly recommended. I'm definitely going to eat that again. The expedition breakfast with berries I bought again because it was about calories and making sure it was healthy, and that involved boiling the jet boil and then pouring the water into a lime, which is on the outside. You can see very well, so not the best, and then you just sealed it with a Ziploc and leave it to stew, a bit like porridge, and that was fine. I mean, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but it did the job, and it was kind of compact and was easy to take with me. So those things, so the food part of it, along with these bars are really, really good, were brilliant. Right, so let's look at the camping gear next. Sleeping bag, nice and compact. Things I like about it, it's easy well, it wasn't easy to put away, but actually look how much it's folded down to. Could actually tighten these up a little bit and squeeze that a little bit more, which is really good. Only thing I'd say about it, it says it's a 2-season sleeping bag. Comfort level 7 degrees, limit 2 degrees. Extreme -12. I don't know why I'd use this in -12. I'd say it's probably about 10 degrees on the mountain in the evening, and I wasn't particularly hot. I don't think a lot of the warmth is coming out of there, but it wasn't too bad. It's a good summer sleeping bag, but I certainly wouldn't use it in the autumn or the spring probably. So, but nice though, not very heavy, decent. Mummy liner, didn't really see the point of it, but it is super soft and it does give you another level, another layer. Both of them though, both the sleeping bag and the mummy liner, I didn't feel was high enough. So I'm 5'11" and I felt it was coming up to here, and I kind of, because I was feeling a little bit sorry for myself and tired, I wanted to really snuggle up like that. So another foot would have been good, but they did the job. I'm still here. So I don't know, I probably wouldn't choose anything else, but I would just be careful. I'll go in the winter, I definitely wouldn't be using that. This was amazing. I didn't show you this last time because I bought it the day before I went off Amazon. It's a pillow. It was a tenner, I think £11 it was. Absolutely brilliant. What a great purchase. I mean, I could have used the dry bag and put some clothes in, but all the clothes I had were wet or I was wearing them, so there wouldn't be anything to go inside them. So this was really good. So with this, And this regatta down layer, that was where my head was sitting, and it was beautiful. It's just so soft. So that works really, really well. I've definitely taken that with me again. I'm definitely a pillow man. And the 10, well, it's kind of big. I mean, I'll put it away now, but it's so cleverly done. Everything is color coded. It went up really quickly. Shane gave me that, helped me do it the first time. I hadn't done it before ever. And once he'd explained it, it was very straightforward. So quick to put up. I reckon I could probably do that in 3 or 4 minutes now, easily. So I love that. It is a bit weighty, but I think if it's a tent, it's going to be, isn't it? And it's probably, I've seen smaller ones than that as well. So that's maybe something in the future, but I really love that. That's going to stay in the car in the lakes and everything like that, or up in Scotland, because I could literally just sleep beside my car with this. It's beautiful. Or I could take it with me on a trip. That's all that stuff then. That's all that stuff done. This is a cup of coffee. Now let's talk about the photography gear. So this is Billy. Okay, Billy's been brilliant. Billy sat outside in the rain. He still works fine. He's very reliable. He's done his job brilliantly. Very secure. I mean, it's a little bit gritty now. I don't know why that would be, but I might give the legs a little bit of attention. But the 3-legged thing, Billy, is brilliant. I love the system. I love 3-legged things. I've worn them for ages. I've worn them, used them for ages, and they're really, really good. The DJI mics were great. This one got absolutely drenched, and the green light sort of is gone, is not working anymore. That seems to be working now, but they were really easy to use. Great to charge up, USB-C at the bottom. Heavy and bulky, I suppose, but I've got no worries about them breaking because of the fact this is all sealed up. So I'd love that. I think it's a really good system. I prefer this to the Rode system, which I found to be a little bit fragile and a bit unreliable at times. But it might just be my copies, I don't know. But this is really good. It's my go-to thing. XT4 didn't have this lens on it. It had the lenses on the camera that you're on. And it was fine, but I didn't use it. So I know it's waterproof. I've had this on mountains and it's got absolutely drenched and it's been fine. So I know that would do the job. Didn't use it. This little thing though, this Nikon Z30 has been amazing. I mean, I'm not sure it's supposed to be waterproof, but it's been soaked, it's been drenched, it's been rained upon. I've dropped it. It's been chucked in a rucksack. It's been pushed and prodded and it's as new. It's been brilliant. The lens completely condensed up one morning. It must have got rain inside the fittings. I just left it in the sun and that's all gone, and it now works as good as new. I don't suppose that's what you're supposed to do with it, but very impressed. Really easy to use it. Left it on auto most of the time. Simple controls, everything I needed to hand. Literally put it up. It caught my eye really well with eye detect. Press to record. The footage you've seen, most of it's been shot on this, or the iPhone 11, the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which again is an awesome piece of kit. It can get wet and all sorts of stuff. I just wish they'd do something about to help me not lose this. Maybe a sort of like a bit of elastic and attach it. Like I had a Limbs once that had that on it. I've just got to learn not to lose this. So I kept putting it in different places and then couldn't find it for ages. So it's taken a battery in. You couldn't tell. The battery could be, maybe, it's only criticism, the battery could maybe last longer. I charged this up twice, but that's because the red warning light came on, not because it went off. And I think maybe the red warning said low battery is probably a bit too keen. This looks a bit flimsy on the side here, these bits here, but you know what? I think it's going to be fine. I mean, they're not kind of completely sealed, so I was very impressed with this though. For what I paid for it, it was a brilliant vlogging camera going forward. I'm going to be using that forever. Smidge spray, don't know. It rained, we didn't get any mosquitoes. This head torch was a pain, to be honest. I remember once I put it on my head, I remember why I was going to use this, because it's great. It's quite bright, and you can adjust the angle of it, so you can point it down at where you're going. But as soon as you put anything over the sensor, it turns off. Why would you want to do that for? Just why? Which meant that when I was wearing my North Face waterproof with the hood up because it was raining, as soon as the flap of the hood touched the top, it couldn't see anything. So I ended up sort of like putting it over the top of my hat. Oh, it's just a pain. So I would probably choose something different for that. But I wasn't expecting it to be. I wasn't expecting to use it, to be honest. But I did need to use it. So that, okay, could definitely improve that. This is the thing that I definitely would change. I decided in the end to just to try and give it a bit more protection, to shove the vlogging camera and the mics and my DJI Mini 2, my drone and its controller in here. My plan was to put this in the rucksack so it kept protected, but obviously I needed the camera and not so much the drone, but the chances were I would have needed all those things while climbing up. And so in the end I ended up attaching this to the side of the rucksack. It got absolutely drenched, it kept banging around. The zip is really confusing, but this was a bag that DJI provided with one of the drones that I bought, so it can't really moan. But that is where I'm going to be investing some money, looking at something. I need something that basically fits across my chest, so I can accessibly get to it really quickly, take things out, put it back in, and it needs to be kind of waterproof. I know you can get some Peak Design things for straps, so you can plug or clip cameras onto it, which might also be another way forward. So that's something I'm going to have a little look at, because that didn't work so well. Apart from that, everything went in this rucksack. Now, the rucksack, I didn't buy the rucksack. The rucksack was lent to me by my daughter because she went over Kilimanjaro with it. And it's a great rucksack. Unfortunately, not very water resistant. So as soon as it rained, this got incredibly heavy, and it was heavy enough to start with. So that became very unpleasant. The straps are really good, nice thick straps on it. So that was good. It's got plenty of room in it. But I think I can get away with something a bit smaller and a bit lighter and a bit more water resistant. And the other thing I learned is if you buy a microfiber towel, which is like a good idea to dry the lenses, you can't really dry stuff if it's on the outside of the rucksack, it just gets soaked. So that was a complete waste of time. So that I would change that. I mean, it feels heavy even without anything in it. So I reckon there's a good half a kilogram I could probably save off that. And with the bag, so with the camera stuff on the front, I think I could probably get that down a little bit more weight-wise. So I think that's everything. Thanks very much for joining me on this Wednesday night, if that's when you're watching me. I'm going to go back to my normal Sundays, but just to give you really an overview on how I got on. So I hope that's useful if you're a wild camper or a prospective wild camper. I hope that's been useful to you. And I will see you again next time. Thanks very much for watching.